you there. Thank you for watching, and welcome to Forge Lines Forever. Today I have a 4v4 ladder match here on the map STULTA AQUA PUGNA Matchmaker version. Let's go ahead and introduce our teams and our players. Starting for Team 1, also known as the Red Team in the North. Anyway, Team 2, also known as Blue Team in the South. Starting off with Team 1's Ruby Red player in the East, it is Tengu. He is a Seraphim for this match as a 1345 rated. And of course, with the rating shown, this game took place before the update, so if you're wondering why the numbers are not zeros, that is why. In Chevy comes into his west. Starting off, we have Joker as a Cybran. He is a 1302 rating. To his southwest in the middle here for Team 1, it is Blinchik. He is a UEF in orange, the color orange, as a 1695 rated player. The highest rated player on Team 1 and barely the highest rated player in the game. And last but not least here for Team 1, we have in Light Octane Carl as a Cybran. He is a 1645 rated. So for Team 1 side of the map, they have one Seraphim, two Cybrans, one UEF. Team 1 lacks the Aeon faction. Starting off with Team 2's isolated player here in Stitch Blue, we have on the western edge of the map Nya Marine. He is a Cybran. He is a 1484 rated. To the east, we have, rounding out Team 1's western edge of their main landmass, we have in Royal Blue Saints Row as the one and only Aeon of the match as a 1420 rated. To the east, we have Blazing Missile playing as a UEF, definitely aptly named there. He is an Amethyst Purple as a 1688 rated. He is the highest rated player on Team 2. And last but not least, matching the color scheme of the water, or at least most of it, we have Entropico Ocean Blue, created in Abyss. He is a Seraphim at 1516 rating. So for Team 2 side of the map, they traded one of the Cybrans from Team 1 for an Aeon, which means they have one of each of the factions, one UEF, one Cybran, one Seraphim, and one Aeon. Let's go ahead and take a look at the reclaim here currently on the map, sitting at 26,000 mass in reclaim, making it just a little bit more of 3,000 mass per player. And there are a decent amount of mixes to grab. Of course, Team 1 and 2's isolated players have an entire island to themselves. Nice little group of mexes up there. And of course, a nice little central-ish island between the main land masses. Of course, there is a couple of mexes in the middle-ish. It's kind of a really weird middle. It's more middle with the horizontal line than it is in the middle of the map. And of course, there are a decent amount of mexes in the back line to grab, decent being 2 here and 2 here. They are guarded by a couple of AI units. So our players have to be a little bit aware that there are actually some other hostile forces here, not just the other team. And of course, let's see what our players are going to. Well, they're going to the middle of the map, of course, because this is a naval map, as you can see by all of the water that exists on it. This is, I think, one of my newest favorite maps. I think it's maybe top 10 at least. I don't know if I have a running total list, but partly because I love Navy so much, and this map just screams Navy. But it does have a decent amount of land, just not really any land that players are fighting over. Mainly just if you get some land forces up in a corner or something, you can have a nice little invasion. But it's mainly a naval map. Of course, this was the map, of course, way long ago that we saw a huge run of a Strat Bomber. Just did so much damage. I think that Strat Bomber ended up not being the sole cause of that team's win, but definitely contributed a lot. I think it took out maybe 40,000 mass. So many T2 mexes dead. So many. We do see that Team 1's Carl pushing in, of course, into the main aperture for Team 2's Nya Marine to launch his units. We, of course, see there's a little bit of pathway to him to move eastward, but usually what happens is, let's say Team 1 groups up on the western player for Team 2, and then Team 2 does the same thing for Team 1's eastern player, just to isolate that side of the map and turn it into more of a west versus east versus a north v south. That doesn't change things terribly, but it does make things a little bit better. You don't have to fight 2 fronts. You're really only fighting 1. We do see, of course, a couple of subs and a frigate nearby here for Team 2 is created an Abyss going after Tengu. Tengu, of course, producing some of his own frigates. Needs to get his own subs online just to counter the ones from Team 2, but nothing too crazy. We do see that forces inbound from Team 1's Tengu and Joker moving into created an Abyss's facilities, but of course he has subs. Frigates don't have torpedoes on board, or torp defense for that matter, so they are very vulnerable to torpedoes. We do see that now Marine did push northward and went right back home because those T1 subs are inbound for him. And again, subs very not hard to counter, but I don't see a lot of players countering them with their own subs. Usually we see one player building subs, the other player doesn't build subs, and then it becomes a one-sided affair. Now we do see a sub online here for Team 2's Now Marine, but point being, I'm surprised that not a lot of players actually just start with a sub or two. I mean, I get it. You can tack a little bit more with a frigate. I mean, you can actually hit land units and structures, but in terms of a raw going after the facilities, subs are definitely the better way to go. Of course, the hit point thing is a little different, 550 versus 1900 in this example. Granted, it is a Cybran versus a Seraphim unit, but even over here, it's the same faction. Never mind. Do you have a frigate online? No. Are you just all subs? You are just all subs. Never mind. So forget what. Oh no, there's a frigate over here. 2000. Again, it does make a difference, of course, in the hit points department, but in terms of the going after maybe a calm in the water, for example, or just putting pressure on the naval facility itself, I think subs are definitely the way to go, especially early on. Later on, destroyers and Coopers and whatnot definitely are the better choice in that regard, but T1 subs I just feel like can be built a little bit more. We do see, speaking of sub, T2 Barracuda online. Carl in the water, he has no way to get out of land, or out of water, besides going for these little pockets of mexes here. And actually the shading there looks very weird when I turn the camera. That's really weird. Look at that. Huh. Anyway, being distracted by game mechanics and structure and whatnot. A couple of T1 frigates are not going to be anything for that Barracuda. It's actually already at almost 1-star veterancy. That Barracuda is the second and a third one. So now we're seeing the power of T2 subs in action, but we do have a T2 facility online for Carl, and he does have some destroyers coming on the scene. So that is definitely good to see, but unfortunately for that engineer, it's not on land and will be struck down by those subs. In the east, T2 destroyers also online for Team 2's Eastern player of Created an Abyss, and T2 also online for Tengu. Looks like T2 online for pretty much everybody besides Blinchik. Looks like he's going into the air department, and he's going for T3 already at about 12 and a half minutes. That'll be done. Team 2's air facility already online, and he has a T3 Pigeon as well. He could go early bomber and do some devastating damage, but I don't think he's going to do that this game. We do see that Team 1 and Team 2 are starting to clear out the southeastern and northwestern corners of AI facilities. So again, nice little chunk of land to build maybe an experimental, hide a nuke back there. There's a couple of options. This is a full 20 by 20 map, so T3 artillery will not reach that if it's placed on the other side, like in the other corner. So T3 artillery placed here will not hit a target back here. So just a fair warning if anybody decides to do that. T4 definitely the better way to go in that regard. In the west, or something with infinite range, one or the other. A couple of Barracudas, though, severely damaged and wiped out. T1 torp launchers being spammed up very, very quickly by Carl. We do see some Aeon destroyers, no bad, but there's also a lot of T1 spam, as well as a nice little gunship, and that gunship helps deal with those destroyers. Again, not a lot of damage, but you know, something's better than nothing. But again, there is a decent amount of pressure outbound from Team 2 on this western side. They don't want Non-Marine to just get wiped out very easily, just because he is that isolated player in terms of landmass. We could even see maybe him shift over to just the main landmass to keep his calm there, just in case, because the last thing you want to do is be swarmed to be walking your way to your teammates' base. Not the best idea. Chrono Dampener, interestingly enough, Chrono Dampener being built, well, okay, thank you, camera, being constructed for Saints Row. Does that work underwater? That'd be really cool if it does. I would maybe assume that it does, but we'll see. Huh. Any case, even if he does go Chrono Dampener, it would actually be better to go with range, because it actually increases the range of Chrono Dampener, so food for thought there. But, you know, he has some additional hit points. That's probably what he's worried about a little bit more. T2 coming on line for Nya Marine. And in the east, lots of engineers spamming up new destroyers, the ones that can submerge and act like little subs. I feel like the Seraphim have a nice fascination with subs. They have T1, No, they don't have T2. Their T2 sub is a destroyer, and then T3 sub, and no T4 sub. The only T4 sub in the game is Atlantis. But the naval facilities here for Team 1's Carl have been knocked out. Team 1 isn't, of course, out of Navy for a long while, but the western side clears up very nicely. It does offer, and again, a launching point for land units if Team 2 can get stuff over there. Granted, they have a lot to chew through, so probably not going to stay there long term, but a nice little land invasion is nice to see every once in a while. T3 are, of course, online and spamming up the air grid here for Blinchik. Again, 20 by 20 map. You got to get that air coverage everywhere. We don't see the same pressure from Team 1 over here. It looks like Tengu is all on his lonesome to fend for himself while the rest of the players deal with the huge amount of just pressure here from Team 2. Specifically both, of course, Now Marine and the Aeon of Saints Row. I always want to say Saints Row when I say his name, the video game franchise. I really liked 3. 4 wasn't too bad. I haven't played 1 and 2. I don't know. I just feel like there could have been something definitely done with 4. I mean, I get it. It was fine to run around with superpowers, but I feel like 3 was probably the best one. I mean, I've only played, again, 2 of them. I did play the one with Johnny when he goes to hell, but I was, I still like, I think 3 is, for me, is probably the one that I have gone back and played it, so it is one of those that I can go back and have some fun running around and just being whacking crazy kind of thing. I feel like that's more the unserious version of GTA is kind of the one I describe it to people who haven't played it. We do see a couple of gunships actually being running around the backline of Team 1's Tengu, going after some T2 mech assassinations. These, of course, are the Stingers, so very weak in terms of damage, but they can be spammed up very quickly and are starting to eat away at those mechs. Again, that's 9 mass a second per T2 ringed mechs, and of course 6 mass a second for the unringed. Team 1 Interceptors as well coming in to assist from Created Abyss, and ASF looking to have a nice little avenue. They're looking to go after, I think, this group first and then go over to this group. Team 2's Blazing Missile has split his ASF force. It looks like the ASFs are the main target first, and then they're going to go after the gunships. ASFs called in maybe a little bit too late. I mean, don't really know. Yeah, I think Team 1's going to win this fight. Had the ASFs been grouped up together, it probably would have been a better situation for Team 2, but still, it would have been close for sure. The gunship's still doing a lot of damage. They're just going after all the engineers that we're building here, so it's going to take more time to get more replacements onto the field. They are T1s nearby. You have to go to T1, then T2 tech. All of these mechs are taken out. And it looks like gunships tried to make it to the mainland, but get denied by ASF coverage. So what is that? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mechs is taken offline. That is a decent chunk of Tengu's eco. Drops him down to 65. Carlos also dropped to 64 as well. That's possibly power related. But he also has lost a couple of mechs on the western side as well. We do see the conglomeration of naval units starting to occur in the middle of the map. No T3 naval tech yet, but I would not be surprised to see one here shortly. I mean, anybody could build it, but I would think maybe... Yep, okay, there it is. Yep. Sainsbury going for T3. Navy having those Torrent-class missile ships are deadly, especially because he's the only Aeon in the game, so he's the only one that has access to that type of unit. We do see those destroyers and the cruisers getting into the mix. That is the one thing about the Cybran cruisers and all of the AA mobile units that I like, is that they can attack ground units, and in this case naval units. Granted, is their accuracy great? Absolutely not. But when you have a large group of units stacked up like this, yeah, your shot going for maybe a destroyer will miss, but maybe you'll hit a frigate, or you'll hit an engineer, or you'll hit a sensor package, or something. You'll hit most likely something, so the shots don't get completely wasted. They're not as great, but they don't get completely wasted. Of course, they do have no, they don't have TMD on board. They have an air staging facility. That's right. That is the one downside with the Sirens, is they don't have TMD on board. And those destroyers from Team 2, Saints Row, just getting punished by these nice little Salems from Team 1. And, of course, the Valiant class destroyers from Blinchik. Again, he's doing double duty. He's in Navy and in air, but in this game, or this map specifically, you have to be in both, at least to some degree. We do see that Blazing Missile focused on air first, and is now going into Navy as we speak. Not really spamming anything out at the current moment, but he has some facilities just in case. D3 Navy is online going for the Omen, which was built, I will admit, very quickly. That's a very quick Omen. I mean, we are at +1, but still that's a quick Omen. There is a nice little brick or two running around, taking out Neon Marine's western mexes, or western side mexes, and then the mexes here in this little island. I do like that play from Carl. Nothing too crazy in terms of losses if he does not really do anything with them. But look, 1, 2, 3 mexes. Of course, that's more APM focused on this and on other things. Though it does add up after a while, and they will do some damage. And of course, the per second loss in mass income will hurt, not just right now, but later on. A couple of T3 gunships, though, online for Team 1's Blinchik. He has the broadswords. They are the best air-to-ground weapon system in the game in terms of gunship for T3 tech. You can see they're just ripping apart T2 mexes just like they're tissue paper. In the east, cruiser missiles are online for Tengu, and now it's more of a role reversal where Team 2 has created an abyss, was punishing Team 1, or at least pushing in quite severely. Now it's the other way around. And of course, the main army, or I should say naval fleet, is just conglomerating around these facilities being spanned up for engineers for reclaim. And that is the one thing about Navy that you have to, I mean, land and air, of course, but specifically Navy, there's so much mass involved. You gotta get that sooner rather than later. 50,000 mass now on the field in terms of reclaim. Team 1, Team 2 have not lost a player yet. Granted, again, it's a 20 by 20. Players are staying very, well, I mean, Team 1 is staying relatively to their bases. Team 2 has 2 players in the middle. But the other 2 players here for Team 2 are staying relatively safe. Let me know down in the comments who you think is going to currently win this game. Of course, if you haven't done so already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And of course, as well, Team 2 is leading the income just a little bit, so factor that into your choice of who you think is going to win. But there are a lot of Torp bombers inbound for Team 1's Blinchik. Is this a calm assassination? Because he is moving to the nice little sliver of water on the eastern edge, and those destroyers are lining up a shot for those remaining naval facilities. They may or may not see the comm. They have a radar signature or a sonar signature that there's something down there, and attack orders are given, and yes, Created an Abyss will receive some damage, but there are ASFs nearby, and it looks like he'll cover his... they don't... looks like they're going to miss some of those bombers. I think the bombers will not get the... it's going to be close. He doesn't have any veterancy or upgrades on board. And if those destroyers get close enough to him, that's a dead comm. There's enough spread out. This might actually be a kill here for Team 1. He's still in the yellow, but now the destroyers here for Team 1's Tengu, who have now submerged, cannot be targeted by naval units, have to be targeted. But Team 2's player of Created an Abyss gets killed off by Tengu, assisted by Blinchik's bombers, and that is the first kill of the game at 26 minutes. Drops this game to a 4v3 in favor of the northern team of Team 1. We do see that Sainsborough has taken a decent chunk of damage, and he is retreating. He has 3 battleships online. Team 1 has a battle cruiser online. Love to see those Neptunes being thrown around, but of course they lack the range that the battleship has, and that will not help the situation here for Team 1. There are 4 of them now coming into range of that battlecruiser, and that thing is being targeted directly. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They want you dead, specifically their Neptune, and they are going to have it. Of course, some shots do miss because they're not lasers, but the hit points, of course, don't really help the battleship much, or the battlecruiser much. Another one online. I feel like it might be high time for Blinchik to switch to more longer range weaponry. In the east, Team 1 has now control over the eastern pond, or at least the eastern outcropping. We do see that Blazing Missile does, of course, have the eastern edge of the map under his control, given the fact that Created an Abyss has been taken offline. In the west, Navy has been reestablished a little bit here for Carl. We do see now Marines over here with this comm, 20,000 hit points on board, as well as the nano and torpedo upgrade, so just poking and prodding at Team 1's essentially eco, because they're spending mass to build naval units that he is pretty much just dealing with himself. The one-man army, that guy, we'll see if he stays there for long. Team 1's probably going to notice him sooner rather than later. He has, of course, stealth on board. He doesn't have cloaking, so an Omni will spot him, and even if he did have cloaking, an Omni's going to spot him anyways. in the mainland mass. We have a nice little deceiver trying to stealth this brick, taking out some T2 mexes, getting some revenge. Those mexes that were killed up by broadswords earlier on. Here you see the air grid is expanded upon quite nicely here for Team 2's Blazing Missile. And of course for Blinchik it also is as well. He's going for more of the standard rectangle shape. And Blazing Missile went for the more diamond shape. Granted, big boxy dimension or big boxy shapes regardless of if it's a square, if it's a diamond, if it's a rectangle. Cascadable is the main concern with that, and both of them are cascadable, most definitely. Again, the wider they are in terms of amount of structures in a line, the worse it is. So usually 2, I think 3 is not that bad, but 4 is definitely not great for issues of cascading. But Team 2 is really cascading down the middle here. 1, 2, 3, 4 battleships online. They just lost 1. Team 1 has the Neptune, and I think that's it. A lot of Team 1 spam. Another Neptune coming online here shortly, and it does look like he's just spamming up Neptunes. I love the Neptune. It is one of my favorite naval units in the game, and it has the highest DPS, I think, in the game for naval units, at least for T3, if I'm not mistaken. But the range factor and the hit point factor are the 2 main concerns. And it does have torpedoes. And it has tactical missile defense. And it has torp defense. Like, it has a lot of things going for it. But hit points and range are the 2 things it lacks. And that's kind of the thing here with battleships. They're tanks. That's what they do. In the west here, we do see a nice little Tempest is online, and he's just going full send it with battleships. He's like, well, I'm going to use battleships, and if you're not, then I'm just going to have a battleship that's even better at range, which is this nonsense of a machine, or ship, I should say. Machine, ship. There's really no actual pilots or crew on board. It's just all artificial intelligence guided by the comm there. I think that's how the lore goes. Because essentially they're just 3D printed from facilities, so that would, you would assume that they're just all artificial intelligences. Artificial intelligences. There we go. Ugh. That's a tongue twister. Try saying that 10 times fast. We do see the fleet is now coming in here for the western attack once again, and Carl is going to be denied the navy that he so sweetly wants. And unfortunately, it's just not going to happen this game. T2 facility has been rebuilt, as you can see, and now it's going to be destroyed, as we have already seen. T3 Navy online for Joker, producing battleships in the east. T3 Navy is online. I assume he's going to get some battleships online shortly. He's getting a lot of spam facilities, lots of spam facilities everywhere, and actually even has some up here for reclaim. I do like that tactic. It's a little bit of cannon fodder, bullet spongy kind of thing. It takes time for all those naval units to target all these facilities, and there's shots that will, of course, hit the target that your naval vessels can hide behind, especially if the units are not being microed heavily. Essentially, they'll just target stuff and not really focus on other things. Cruiser missiles are being heavily spammed up here by Tengu, but of course, those volcanoes on board, those omens, can deter a decent amount of those missiles. So realistically, there's multiple missiles that miss their target at once because of the nice little flares built, or not built, but fired. And they are, of course, fleeing. They can, of course, target units while they're moving, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things where once the battleships come into range, bye-bye cruisers. And it looks like the battleships are shifting actually northward instead of eastward. Another battleship taken offline. And of course, the Tempest is now online. Nice little barrage inbound. Not going to hit anything because all those units are already dead, but it just ensures that they are not dead. ARAS coming online here for Saints Row in the middle. And there has been a land invasion ever so quickly defeated, though, by Team 1. It is those Salem's online. There's still one in the pond, but even with the Team 1 bombers here, that's more than enough. That bomber is DOD. We do see that now Marine's now over here. He's actually pushing to the middle. I don't think that's the best idea for survivability for him. Team 1 has been pumping out bombers. Same with Team 2. I mean, they're also pumping out torp bombers. But there's been a lot of those floating around, and the last thing you want to do is put your comm on the front line and then just have somebody go click, and you're dead. So just be aware of that. Just because you have the torpedo upgrade on board does not give you torp defense. It just gives you torpedoes, from what I understand. So something to be aware of. Tempest actually producing units. Yes! Love to see it. Yes! I comment about this once in a while when I cast games with Tempest. Yes! Somebody finally does it. You're building units on the front line. I think those are destroyers too. That's a good unit to grab. Get more firepower on the scene immediately. They have depth charges and torp defense and torpedoes on board. Of course, as all destroyers do. Love to see that. Can it? Oh, it can move and produce units. I remember that update with the Fat Boys where that was literally the title or the thumbnail text was Fat Boys produce units, and essentially it's on the move. I should have put that part, but love to see that be used. It's the only unit in Navy that can do that for naval units. There are, of course, naval units that can produce other units, but not other naval units. Gunships clearing up the eastern edge of all of the T1 spam. There's a lot of cruisers here. That's what they're avoiding. And yeah, they could probably wipe that group out, but the problem is they take severe losses. Battleship coming online here for Tengu. Another one online as well. And we see in the west, couple of galaxies getting the bomber treatment here from those storks. They're deploying their shield. Nope. Anyway. No big ticket items yet here for Team 1. They do have an SMD. Love to see that. I feel like that's a little bit too close to the shoreline. Granted, a lot of things are close to the shoreline. And Team 2... that's what I was expecting at some point with a blazing missile name like that. The nuke has been launched. It's going for the eastern edge. There is no SMD coverage. That's a dead base. Not a dead comm, but that's a dead base. I would have loved to see maybe that nuke go a little bit over to maybe clip the headquarters just to knock out naval power for Tengu. But it's going to take out all the mass here, all the PGens. It's a not good day for Team 1's eastern player of Tengu. But, of course, that will light the fire under the remaining players on Team 1 to build SMDs and load them immediately. I don't know if they even know about the nuke from Team 2. They do know about it. There's some air scouts hanging out. So they've prepared for it, but they're not prepared for it that soon enough. And, of course, kaboom! Yeah, they probably could have clipped that a little bit better. But, you know, the base is dead. A lot of the land facilities are dead, so engineers have to be built out of the naval facilities. And it will set back Team 1 considerably, at least on the eastern edge. In terms of eco, Team 1 is winning, though, 1.6 versus 1.4. So, again, even though they took a huge chunk of mass out, Team 2, Team 1 is still winning the game in that regard. And there's a secondary nuke on the western side here for Team 2's Nyan Marine. It's underneath a stealth field and nice little PGen for power reduction. Love to see that. Again, it makes it more explosive or volatile, but, you know, taking out a couple of powers. Nice. And Nuke is launching once again. Where? From Team 2's middle player here of Saints Row. So we have Nuke, Nuke, Nuke. 3 nukes for Team 2. And maybe no nukes for Team 1. No, no, and no. So, yeah, that's going to be a not good day here for Team 1. Team 2 has said, well, Navy takes a while. We're going to end it really quick and go for nukes. The SMD is not going to load. That air grid is not going to have a good day. And the nuke goes for the SMD. Smart play there. Kaboom. Takes out the only defense Team 1 has for now. There are more SMDs being built and loaded as we speak. But that allows another nuke to come in from Team 2's remaining 3 nuke launchers to fire at the air grid. Lovely play here from... yeah, Saints Row. Make sure I actually call out the right player. Okay. I get that it takes a while to move engineers. I get it. But please do not put your nuke launcher next to your artillery, please. Please, 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 please. At least move it just a little bit over, like maybe right about here. Just a little bit over. I get it. You have to build another PGen, blah, 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 blah. But if artillery remains in from Team 1, it's going to hit nearby this because they're targeting the T3. It's going to clip the nuke. It's not going to be a good day. Just build it somewhere else. Those are my 2 cents on that. Granted, this should all be underneath shield coverage anyways, but still. In the north, we do see an attempt by a couple of torp bombers to thin out the herd as it would over here. There are no torpedoes or torp defense on the battleships. for the Seraphim class. Of course, they're the ones that do have torp defenses. I think the not the is it the Yasaus? The T3 subs from Seraphim departments. I think they're Yasaus. I think that's what they're called. I forget. It's been a while since I casted Seraphim Navy. At least remember what they're called. And if you hear any like puppy noises in the background, my wife and I are taking care of some puppies for the rest of the day. So I do apologize if that is annoying. They're kind of whining that they're in a pen and whatnot. So they just want attention, as all puppies do. So just wanted to shout that out if my mic does pick it up. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of inconsistent. So anyway, Tempest, of course, still online. It's kind of struggling to move, but it's online, so that's something. And T3AA actually being built around the middle of the map, so more AA coverage both in the mobile and stationary department. Team 2 has been able to shove Team 1 back, if not a little bit, with the gunship and now torpedo bomber spam up. 1 battleship, 2 battleship, 3 battleship, 4. There are some AA aircraft carriers inbound that also have missiles on board, but of course they're not here. And the destroyers, there's not a lot of AA on those Hathums, so yeah, it's like they have the chicken AA is how I describe it. They have that chicken AA flak where it's good for T1, and that's about it. Another nuke outbound again from Saints Row. Looks like he is targeting. I was going to say, please don't target the same thing or your units, but that's not what he's going for. Either he's going for this clump of battleships here, or he's going for the T3 facilities here or here. And it looks like the nuke is going to sail overhead. It is either going for the facilities or for the group of units. If it goes for the group of units, it's not going to be as effective, but it is going to go for the Actually, no, it might even go. Okay, 2 more nukes launched. One over there, one over there. This one's going right here. Kaboom! It clips the headquarters. It clips the other facilities to the west, and it clips actually one over here. So thinning out the herd for Team 1. Lovely nuke there from Saints Row. This nuke going northeast. This nuke going east again. So this time probably clip the headquarters would be a good idea. But there is an SMD. It is not loaded. That is a not good thing here for Team 1. This SMD has been online for a while. It does have one loaded. This one was just built recently. There's another one built over there. That one's about to load. Another nuke lands. Kaboom! Taking out the headquarters for the Navy. And that air grid is DED. And there goes the SMD. Kaboom! It is just not a good day if you're Team 1. You got to get your own nukes at this point. I mean, 3 nuke launchers. Each player has one. Each player has launched at least one. 2 players have launched 2 of them. All of them have landed. Oof. That's a woofda from me. This nuke launch has killed off 58,000. This one has killed off 53,000. This one has killed off 94,000. So we're talking about, let's round it up to 200,000 mass roughly killed. Another nuke launch. Man, he is spam loading those things. Yeah, that would be his 3rd launch, I believe. Another nuke is going for this group of mexes up here on this nice little island. There isn't that much here, but, you know, taking out a couple of mexes, taking out an Omni, taking out a nice little T3 air facility. I mean, it's something. You're not going to do devastating damage. I feel like the headquarters would be a nice target, but, you know, it's just going after whatever they can go after. SMDs, again, need to be spam built immediately. Here comes the nuke. Kaboom! Everything besides the nice little hydrocarbon and a couple of other structures remain. In the northwest, engineers being spammed up. I feel game enders possibly here for Team 1. That strikes me as a lot of engineer spam. That might be game ender spam here for Team 1. Again, if they build it back there, they're not going to hit everything. Granted, Team 2 doesn't have anything back here, but still. That artillery is almost in the green, and another nuke about a quarter of the way done. This nuke launcher now has 75,000, so we're approaching 250,000 mass killed with Team 2's nukes alone. Mass on the field in terms of reclaim. Of course, a lot of it was vaporized by nukes, but sitting at a cool 225,000 mass, enough for a game ender. So that's a lot of mass, and it's mostly on Team 1 side of the map and in the middle of the hordes. of dead ships in the water. There's one Tempest still alive. That one is down. I like how the cannon actually stays not activated, but deployed. So you can actually just see it. And it's about, like, it's almost tall enough to stick out of the water. Look at that. Look how close that thing is. Just barely enough. I don't think this naval sea bar, whatever you want to call this, the ground in the water, is tall enough for maybe a Colossus or something to walk. I mean, maybe it'd be close. Another nuke and another nuke. This one over here, it's going to probably, if it does land, take out, it looks like it's going after this. No SMD coverage for Blinchik at all. He's being punished by Team 2's nukes. This nuke going to go maybe same location, maybe different location. And another air grid being spammed up by Team 1's Blinchik back here. He's moved this comm back there. And it is actually going to go after the headquarters. Look at that. Kaboom! And a nice little summit taken out as well. Nuke gonna land, and SMD loaded in time. The first one denied, just barely, I will admit. Lots of P-gens built. Team 1's Blinchik hurting for power, most likely. He might actually be fine. Oh no, he's more than fine. 31,000 mass, 31,000 power. More than enough, especially because he's not building T3 units for a little bit for the Navy side of things. Team 1 is holding, but it's slowly starting to break. Team 2 has lost a huge chunk of their fleet. A lot of those battleships, a lot of the support vessels. There's cruisers and a couple of battleships and a Tempest that's badly damaged. On the eastern side, we see spam, and more spam. And Tengu Control K is being like, I'm done. His facility's being knocked out by broadswords. Team 2 has air control just due to the fact that the air facilities were knocked out. Counter nuke online for Team 1. Love to see it. They're like, anything you can do, I can do better. It looks like they spotted the nuke launcher. And actually, no, they're going to land it short, going after the main base for Nya Marine. His headquarters will be fine, and his nuke will be fine, but that base is going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Teleporter has been started by him anyway, so he might actually just telemaser somebody. Gunships just steamrolling over everything. It's just carte blanche. It's kaboom. It's what's the word? What's the not burning ground? What's the what's it called? There was a policy during the American Civil War where Sherman just he burned everything along the way, essentially, so that nobody could come back and use the the land for farming or whatnot. What was it called? I can't forget what it's called, but it'll come to me later while I'm doing something else. Be like, oh, that's what it is. But let me know if anybody knows down in the comments what that tactic was called. It's like burning ground, burning, scorching, scorched earth. Ah, there it is. See it at some point. It'll come back. Scorched earth. Another nuke outbound from Team 2, and it's gonna hit short, but it is gonna go for the headquarters. And again, if you can't build T3 units in Navy, and your opponent can, pretty much eventually you're not going to be able to hold Navy. Kaboom! All those facilities are gone. What is that number? 10 or something nukes for Team 2. They still have all 3 nuke launchers online. They have an artillery online. Going for a game ender because why not? Please build it somewhere else. There's just essentially you're missing a satellite and you have all your eggs in one basket kind of thing with the UEF tech. Another nuke outbound going northeast. Maybe it's going to go for this position, but that SMD is loaded. That SMD is new. That SMD is reloaded. That SMD's right here. Team 1 is spam loading, spam building SMDs. Maybe they're going to... Ooh, satellite play up here to the north. Love that from Blinchik. Trying to get some long-range, air quotes, long-range damage on Team 2. Laser has been started by Nya Marine. Team 1 has lost their Seraphim player, so they still have 2 Sirens who can telemaser. And I'm kind of surprised that nobody has done that yet. Gunship Horde is inbound at T2 AA spammed up. Definitely good against the more slower moving, both coagulated up gunships. And that naval facility is dead and gone. Team 1, do you have another T3 headquarters? Yes, it's right here. They had a backup. But no, maybe. No, I think it might be fine for now. But you can see, look at Team 2 slowly pushing in to this bay. Team 1 is just being, again, slowly eviscerated. That is the hard side of Navy, is that you can get steamrolled. It's not as evident because it's a slower pace thing where it's hard to notice at first, but then once you notice it, it's probably too late. Probably. Not always, but probably. You can try to counter it with Navy, of course. Team 2 getting their own Tempest online. Love to see that here from Blazing Missile. I think he's just building Neptunes. Yeah, he's literally just building Neptunes. Love that. Another Tempest online. Another one coming online. Another one online. Yeah, it's not looking good for Team 1. They need a Hail Mary pass. They need a miracle. They need probably a couple of them or something. They need something. Air grid is going to help, but not by much. Lasers spammed up. That might help. Team 2 might spot those here shortly. But once you lose Navy and you've lost a huge portion of the map, there's really only so much you can do. You've got to really establish a back line, essentially last line defensive kind of thing. Nuke lands, kaboom, taking out a Tempest and a couple of T3, T2 units. I think that was outbound from the west. Yep, that was over here. 98,000 mass killed. That will slow the progression of Team 2's Navy, but it won't stop it entirely. Gunship Horde is back. They might snipe the headquarters. They're not going to get a kill because Joker's in the water. Blinchik is in the water for now, and it looks like Carl might be able to dip his toes in the water. But again, 12,000 hit points. 2-star veterancy. That's a lot of broadswords. That's probably a death if he can maybe make it. Maybe. Neptune's leading the charge while the battleships take the longer range fire. Of course, the Neptunes are going to receive most of the damage, so those battleships will be fine. Looks like they are being targeted by the battleships from Team 1. But those Neptunes, they have decent range. It's not that they don't have range at all. It's just battleships outrange them. Another nuke outbound. This time it's from Saints Row's nuke launcher. 117,000 mass killed with that thing. 106,000 mass killed with that thing. And 87. So we're now 300,000 mass plus with nukes for Team 2. Team 1 sitting at 100,000. So a 3-to-1 advantage in nukes. Team 1 bombers overhead going after engineers. Maybe they tried to target the headquarters and they missed, question mark, but it is not looking good. Gunships are inbound. They cut across, of course, the north and then the south maneuvers there. Naval Marine stopping the construction of more satellites, and Joker Control K, seeing that the end is in sight for his team. Carl receives another nuke. Kaboom! And he just has this last little section of the map to himself. He has his nuke launcher, SMD, and he's going to sit there probably till he is destroyed. Gunships over top of Blinchik's main base, or original main base. He has a lot of stuff here, and he has a lot of stuff starting to be built up there. He will lose the satellite, and Yamarine will teleport into the water for now. Maybe he'll go after something else sooner. Gunships are going to eventually be taken out. T3 Pigeons, that's going to be a little bit painful to lose, but maybe they'll keep that one online. 500 hit points remaining. There are more gunships, though. So you could move those in, but it looks like they might just go after Blinchik's comm. He's popped out of the water. That is not a good idea. Maybe he made a mistake or something, but that is a dead comm. It looks like maybe he's just going to accept it. Maybe that's why he came out into sea, or not came out to sea, came out of the water to see what was going on. Blinchik is defeated by Blazing Missiles gunships, and even if he wasn't going to be killed by gunships, he was going to be killed by Naval Marines. Telemaser comm. Carl is the last remaining player on Team 1, and it is a 3v1 game. Nuke is outbound from Team 1's Carl. Is there an SMD? Yes. Is it loaded? Also yes. Nuke is knocked out. Tempest, 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 Tempest. 4 Tempests. 5 shortly. 6 shortly. Team 2 has a Mabor, or it's almost done. And Team 1's Carl withdraw. Actually, just Control Ks. And calls it a day. Team 2 wins the game at 50 minutes and 38 seconds on the clock here. Thank you so very much for watching. MVP for me, I think the initial nuke, or nukes, from Team 2's Blazing Missile definitely set the stage. You took out a chunk of the air grid, or actually all the air grid. I think, wait, that was a Blazing Missile? Maybe that was the Saints Row. Whoever did the nuke, whoever did that, did a very good job. I think they targeted I think the first nuke went after here for Tengu. And yeah, that helped alleviate a little bit of that eastern pressure, allowing them to focus a little bit more down the middle. He was still there for a while, but eventually he was taken out. But the nukes definitely are the main player here for Team 2. When you have 3 players all loading their own nukes and firing it pretty much as soon as they load it, Team 1 has to be focusing on SMDs, and they tried to hold Navy. It just wasn't working. They were actually doing pretty good on the SMD coverage, but it just was one of those things where eventually the dam was going to break on that anyways, because here come the battleships. They're going to take out the land units, including the nukes, or the nuke eliminators, I should say, and at that point, there's no SMD coverage. So it's just kind of the chicken and the egg. Not actually chicken and the egg, but rock and a hard place. Do you cover Navy and lose the nukes, or do you cover nukes and eventually lose the Navy, which will then make you lose the nukes anyways? So a little 2 cents there. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. So MVP, the nukes. The nukes were MVPs. Let's say that. The nukes were MVPs. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see all of you in the next one.